Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, and thank you for clicking on this video. We're going to be talking today about 6 essential tips for your first promotion. These will generally work with all promotions, but this is kind of more geared towards essentially your first timer, so to speak. So you may learn something. If you do, awesome. Make sure you let me know in the comments. This is one of my first tutorial videos, so I'm very excited about this, and this is something I'm really hoping I can bring you guys more content with. With that being said, hey, let's get started. So 6 essential tips for your first promotion. All right, so we said who exactly is this for, right? So a list of example roles include cashiers, internships, sales associates, entry-level associate, first-level leadership roles, customer service roles. That doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to pretty much anybody. But these are essentially things that people can, enter into. So in any entry-level position, essentially. And you need to learn what you need to do before, you do it. And sometimes you get thrown into the fire, essentially. So a lot of times, you get hired by a company and you get a little bit of training. You get your CBLs, your learnings, your e-learnings, whatever you want to call them. And you get thrown into the fire. Right? And these roles right here are essential to the business. These are some of the most important roles. If we did not have these roles, we would not have any type of business at all when it comes down to it, because you can kind of generalize these. These aren't just big box retailer positions. These are positions for pretty much any business, and anything we do is essentially selling something, no matter what you're selling something these days. Right? So whether you're a blogger, just trying to make your own money, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're entering the field for the first time, whether you've been in that position for 10 to 20 years, these are all tips that you guys can use to advance yourself if you want to, right? And that's one of the important things too. Sometimes you do have to want this. And the other thing is you have to stay patient. I know a lot of my fellow millennials out there, we are very impatient. This is the now generation, so we want everything to happen now. But you have to stay patient. Now, you can get promoted rather quickly to a first level leadership role. That can happen. That's happened to me several times. And I'm not perfect by all means. But if you apply yourself to some of these tips, and really all these tips that I'm going to give you, then you're going to learn a few things, and then you hopefully will better yourself as an associate or an employee, and then, of course, promote yourself. Right? So tip number 1, master your current role. That is so simple, right? But think about your current role right now. How good are you at that job? I'm going to give you a minute to think about that, right? So just think about it. How good are you at your current position? Are you, in that phase where you're asking questions, right? And here's the thing, you should always ask questions, right? Even if you already know the role. If you're the best at the role, there is still more you can learn. There is never a plateau, right? And you're going to make mistakes. We know that. You're not going to be perfect in it. If you start off great, awesome. You're reaching those sales numbers, awesome. Contacting customers, getting your sales quotas up, awesome. Getting your items per hour on the cashier belt, awesome. You're getting that retainer call, awesome, right? Great things. That's all awesome things. But are you asking the right questions? And when I mean ask questions, how are you asking those questions, right? And you can ask your customers questions. That goes beyond, how are you doing today? Open-ended questions are always the best in sales. We know this, right? But ask questions from your leadership that's already there. There's a reason they got those positions. We would hope so, right? But if you ask them questions, they want to teach you things. There is nothing more than we as human beings love to give advice. The goal of a leader, though, is to somehow make you learn your own advice. And that's in another leadership course that I will be teaching. But it's those questions that are so important, right? And it's fundamentals when it comes down to any type of business role to ask questions. And sometimes we're afraid to ask questions because we feel like people don't like to repeat themselves. I know most leadership out there loves to talk. We absolutely love to talk. We let our advice monsters get out, and we just go, oh yeah, you should do this, 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 you should do this. And we just love doing that, right? Sometimes we have to calm ourselves down, take a step back, and let you, absorb that question. But sometimes it's important to understand that at the end of the day, knowledge is what's going to gain you the most, right? Learn from your challenges. So it's very important that you learn from your challenges. So you're going to make mistakes. It's human, right? If your leaders can't accept that you're making a mistake, maybe that's not the role for you, unfortunately. That's how I go about looking at things. If you can't accept the fact that I made one mistake, and by mistake I mean you tried and you failed, right? So you went up for some sales, your sales are doing good, and all of a sudden your sales dropped. Now, they could have dropped from a lot of reasons. You may have had, something going on in your immediate family. You may not have been there. You may not have had the knowledge. But it's important to learn from that. I always challenge people. Well, how are you going to do better? What are you going to do? What do you need me to do for you? It's questions like that I ask. So I'm always asking questions as well, right? But you learn from your challenge. If you have to change some things, that's fine. You're not going to be perfect in your role. Even if you're a master of your role, you're not perfect. Right? And of course, the most important thing, in my opinion, if you want to go into leadership, is train others. Right? How awesome is it to have somebody on your current level that knows what they're doing, that wants to share that advice with you? Because we all know that sometimes when we talk to management, leadership, anything like that, there's that intimidation factor that can be there. I hope it's not there, but it can be. I'm realistic about it. But when you train others that are on your same level and role, you have the ability to impart knowledge upon them, right? That's why a lot of times when management or leadership does train somebody, they give them to the best person for that role, or the person they think is the best person for that role, the person that they see as the best person for that role. It's not always the supervisor that's training that person, right? It's the best current candidate for that role. And when you have that kind of relationship with your leadership, they're going to notice you. And they're going to impart more knowledge onto you as well. They're training you to train other people. Essentially, the higher up you go, the lazier you get. In a way, right? So we move on to tip number 2. Once you master your role, you learn another role, right? Flexibility is so important when it comes to businesses these days. When it comes to anything these days. If you're great at selling a television, then you should also be great at selling a computer. If you're great at selling a computer, you should also know how to sell a cell phone. If you know how to sell a cell phone, you should know how to sell a washer and dryer. If you know how to sell a washer and dryer, you should know how to take me to the grocery section to help me pick out organic food. Right? Learn another role. If you're a great cashier, awesome. Learn how to push carts. Learn how to operate machinery. Learn how to stock freight. Learn how to throw a truck. Learn how to make a phone call. Learn how to answer the phone properly. It's basic customer needs, customer values, right? But it's important. Learn how to take care of your fellow associates or employees. Talk to your HR. That's what they're there for. They want to impart knowledge onto you. People want you to learn. That's why I ask more questions, right? I love when people come up to me and ask me a question, because all of a sudden I get like, oh, wow, somebody wants some knowledge from me. Oh, this is going to be a great day. And then, we all want to be teachers in a way. Some of us are parents, and essentially, our, staff that we take care of, that's an extension of our family. That's kind of our children. We have to look at it, right? Ask more questions. Don't settle, right? So don't settle for being, just an average employee. When I say be above solid, what I'm meaning is don't just come to work and do the minimum expectation. Don't just come to work and go, well, I'm just going to go ahead and, today's just, one of those days. You're allowed to have a bad day, right? But the important thing is you go to bed, you wake up and you go, you know what? I want to do better than I did yesterday. Even if it's by 1%, if it's by 0.01%, Don't settle. Be above solid. Don't be that guy that when you have your evaluation, you're going to sit there and go, well, for 1 month, I was awesome. You're not judged for 1 month. Unless it's, of course, monthly evaluations or anything like that. Usually it's a yearly evaluation. I can't sit there and judge you based upon how you recently have been. I have to judge you for how you've been the entire year. Right? So you can't just automatically go, well, I'm going to turn it on now. No. Your leadership, if they're doing their job right, are going to recognize that. They're going to see it instantaneously. You come to work and you're having a bad day, proper leadership is going to ask you, what's on your mind? They have their own questions that they're going to ask you, and they can help you along the way. A lot of the times, they're going to impart knowledge onto you that you already know that you're going to answer your own questions. So be above solid, right? You don't have to be perfect, but be above the simple line of duty, especially if you want to be promoted. Tip number 3, be the right kind of vocal. So we all have those individuals that are very vocal, right? That always tell you when something's wrong, right? That's the worst type of vocal there is. That person's going to get noticed, but that person's also going to be seen as what we call a victim, right? Everything is everybody else's fault. Nothing is ever their fault. And then you also have your master manipulators out there who will get other people to do things for them and call it delegation, but really it's a manipulation of fear and other tactics. So when I say be the right kind of vocal, every now and then you can ask your questions. And like I said, look, I put it there again. Ask questions, right? Ask the right questions. But ask questions. But listen. That's extremely important. Listen to what your other coworkers are saying. And be the change that is needed, right? So your other coworkers may go and complain that, something is going on with, something in the break room. Or they don't like how another manager is treating the other associate. When is it the right time to come to a manager with an issue? Right? That's the important thing. And you got to reflect on that. And like I said, you reflect how you are as an associate. How are you helping others around you? Are you helping others around you if all you do is go and complain all the time? Are you helping others around you when you blame something on somebody else? Are you helping that individual? So it's extremely important that we listen, ask questions, teach and train, and reflect properly. Don't be a victim. And there's other roles that apply to that as well that we'll go over in other future trainings. Tip number 4, learn the business. There's a lot of great motivational speakers out there. There's a lot of great leadership speakers out there. One of the most important ones I ever saw was when we talk about learning the business. What does the business entail? So when we look at things like that, we have to look at things like metrics. We have to look at things like culture. Those are important, right? Metrics matter. How much money are we making? How much money are we profiting? What are we selling? What do we buy? How much are our expenses? What are wages? How much, what product do we have that is able to essentially give us, more profit, more bang for its buck? How are our private brands? Culture. How are we dealing with our people? How are we motivating them? Do they need motivation? How are we talking to our people? How are we investing into the power of our people? How are we cultivating that change, right? Are we innovating or just adding something a little to the pot, right? Most important question that any business, and you should always ask a member of management, ask them this question, you're going to floor them with it. Why do we do what we do here? You ask them that question, they will sit there and look at you. I don't know. What do you mean? Why are we in this business? What is our company like? Why does our company do what we do? And if you think about that, it's a really, really heavy question. Next question is, how do we do it? Right? How are we doing the thing that we're saying, why are we doing it? So why do we do it? How do we do it? What are we doing, or how are we performing this task? How do we take that why, make it a vision, and then what are we doing? What do we have? What are we selling? Right? Most businesses will flip that pyramid that I made they're upside down. What are we selling? How are we selling it, and why are we selling it? Well, what are you selling? Oh, I'm selling a TV. Well, how are you selling it? Oh, I'm selling it at a store. Why are you selling it? Oh, to make money. Right? But if you ask why, well, we want to change the culture. We want to change how people shop. We want to change how easy it is for you to go to a store and shop. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of stores are adding e-commerce options, right? But why? Customer service. Some businesses forget about that. Why do we do what we do? To help the customer. To help you find items that you could not find anywhere else. To help you save money that you didn't save shopping at this place, right? Those are simple whys. Now, there could be other reasons why your company does what it does, but it's important that a company understands, and it's important that leadership understands, and soon-to-be leadership, that you understand why your company does it, how your company does it, and what your company is selling, and what your company is actually doing. Learn the business. Tip number 5, lead. Don't manage, right? Respect for the individual. Remember where you came from and love what you do. So essentially, this is respect for the individual is kind of the main draw here. But when I say lead, don't manage. So there are managers, right? Don't do that again. Don't do that again or else. Don't do that again or else you're fired. Well, third strike, you're out. Can't wait to fire him, right? When I lead you, how can I make you better? How can I help you? What can I do for you? Respect for the individual is extremely important. It's one of the core basic beliefs of one of the companies I work at. It's a basic value that some people just forget because they forget the next one. Remember where you came from. Not everybody started at the top. Most of us didn't. We started at the very bottom. We started as a peon, right? No position as a peon. Don't ever call yourself that. But remember where you came from. And you have to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, why are you doing it? Just to make a paycheck? Well, if you're there just making a paycheck, that's not going to help you much. And finally, tip number 6. Just be there. Right? Show up to work. It's absolutely amazing. If you are somebody who consistently shows up to work, people notice. Your leadership notices. But it's more important than just being there, because you can be there and just be, a solid performer or below expectations, right? So when you're there, make sure that you accept responsibility for what you've done. If you did something wrong or if you messed up, own up to it, right? So just be there for your other associates as well. Be there for you. Have empathy. So when I say just be there, I'm not saying that you must sit there and go to work all the time. I used to be one of those people that no matter what, I'm not going to miss work. But I have children I have to take care of. Kids get sick. My wife can get sick. I can get sick. That time is there for a reason. Your company allows that time to be there. But when you have that, you need to make sure you communicate. Right? Communication is the key there. And that's part of being responsible. And have empathy for your other associates as well. Be a role model. Right? If people see that you're consistently showing up to work, bringing your A game every single day, they're going to notice it. That behavior is infectious. You have more control over how your fellow associates on the same level as you are doing, sometimes more than your management team does. Right? And then, of course, volunteering. Now, what I mean by volunteering is a couple different things. For one, if your company does a lot of outreach, outsourcing, to help out like charities and things like that, get involved. See how your community is. Learn your community. It's things like that help you. But you can also volunteer to work more. So if overtime is being given and you're consistently there going, oh yeah, sign me up, no problem. Or if a shift becomes available and you're part-time and a shift becomes available, pick it up. Move those plans you have with your friends aside for a night. You're going to cancel them anyway, right? You're looking for a reason. Work, make some money. Be noticed. It's a lot to do with responsibility, right? But just make sure that you're there for people to learn and for you to share your knowledge that you have gained. And that's it, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking with this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, make sure you put it in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to this content. I want to bring you more of this content. I want to do more things for you guys. That's essentially what I want to do with my career. That's why I love being in leadership. As I'm not a manager, I'm a leader. My people are there for me to help them grow. That's what this is. So thank you, and you guys enjoy.